Hello, everyone. Hello. We're going to get started here shortly. Welcome to Real Connect. This event is designed to empower creatives. As we know, or maybe you don't know, it's a rough time in the entertainment industry right now. Jobs are down. Studios, networks aren't buying as much. So we wanted to make an event that empowers us to take creativity back in our own hands and not wait for permission from someone else to greenlight us. So we're going to have a couple panels today. We're going to have a short film showcase and award presentation. If you're college students, we're going to have a pop-up from HBCU in LA that pairs students with internships at major organizations like Disney, HBO, etc. They're going to be here later, and we're going to have a mixer for all of you to meet with each other, hopefully build with each other, and create with each other. So my name is Ray. I'm the founder of In the Cut. We do low and no cost events to help connect aspiring writers with professionals. I've done probably like 100 or 200 classes at this point. I don't know, a lot. If you're interested, you can go to the website inthecutla.org, follow us on Instagram at inthecutla or TikTok at inthecutla1.
Check. Okay. Hey y'all, my name is Des. I'm very excited to be here and partnering with Ray and In the Cut. I'm a board member and creative director for Black Film Allegiance, and I think that these events are super important, and I'm really excited to connect with all of you. So, our founder.
Hi everyone, my name is Elon Joy. I'm the founder of Black Film Allegiance, and we are BF Allegiance on all social media platforms. We are a virtual space that connects Black creatives across the diaspora. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah. Thank you. So our panelists, y'all can come up and we'll get our first panel going on. This panel is called Level Up. I really wanted to design this panel to bring creatives who have found success in the traditional media space, working with studios and networks, and the independent space, and show that you don't have to necessarily pick one lane. You can do both. I think there's a misconception that if you're indie, you're strictly indie. If you're traditional, you're strictly traditional. But especially with mainstream media sort of declining in numbers and digital platforms on the rise, you kind of have to be a master of both these days, I think, to sustain a career. So we have our panelist, Alesia, come up stage. And we'll have Tian come up. And Nick come up. Thank you. So let me introduce. So Nick Brooks is an award-winning author and filmmaker from Washington, D.C. In 2022, he published his first middle-grade novel, Nothing Interesting Ever Happens to Ethan Fairmont, first book in his 3-book series. He's amazing. His books have won in 2023. He got the Boston Globe Horn Book Award honoree, 2024 Odyssey Award winner. But he doesn't stop there. Nick is like so talented, too many talents. He's like the definition of a multi-hyphenate. He's filmmaker, writer, author. He's even a rapper. He's composed music for films like They Clone Tyrone on Netflix. He's written for TV, film, even video games. So I think Nick is a perfect person to talk on this panel and see how we can leverage different disciplines. Tian is an illustrious writer. He's written on shows like House of Cards on Netflix, Why the Last Man. And the reason why I really wanted Tian on this panel is because he's getting into the independent TV space, which is something I don't think we hear about a lot as writers and know that's an option for even people like Tian, who's worked on, Emmy award-winning shows like House of Cards, to be able to work on independent projects as well. And we have the illustrious Alesia, who is also a multi-hyphenate actress, writer, producer, does all the things. Alesia was able to leverage her web series into, really helping start her career, I would say. So I wanted to talk to you about the process of making that web series and how you were able to leverage that to other opportunities. So kicking off the panel, like I said, this panel is about leveraging indie work to get studio work and vice versa. I'll start with you, Nick. When I met Nick, I'd seen his short film, Hoop Dreams, which is still, I think, the best short film I've probably ever seen, and should be a Nike commercial, in my opinion. But so you went from being a filmmaker, graduate of USC, to deciding to write a book. What inspired that decision for you?
First, I gotta say, sitting through intros is agonizing.
I know, yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm just like, it's like reading my resume. But while everybody stares at me. But let me see. So yeah, I went to SC, came out of SC in 2020, and it's kind of a two-part answer. I mean, I was already, previously self-published in children's books. So you talk about the indie space, right? I was an independent author, publishing picture books, right? That was inspired by my time as an educator, teaching early childhood, teaching kindergarten and first grade. I did a program called Teach for America, and it kind of inspired me to write children's books. So that was that, right? And then I pivoted into film, and then the second part of the answer is really, to be honest, pandemic, right? Like 2020, I graduated, couldn't even walk across the stage, because everything was shut down. Didn't get to do my senior thesis, and it was a really tough time because I had just taken out these loans, went to this big school, spent the last 3 years of my life trying to get this degree, and now the world is about to end, so I didn't know what to do, but I know how to write, right? So that's kind of was my pivot. It's like, okay, I'm in the house by myself. What can I do? How can I keep working? How can I keep my mind busy? How can I keep telling stories? How can I keep sharpening my craft, right? And so it's like, I used to write children's books, and so I was inspired to write novels. And I guess it's actually a three-part answer. The way I got my agent was because it actually started with me writing scripts. I was in the house, I'm like, okay, I need to just be writing, so let me write scripts. I wrote a script based on an old book called A Little Yellow Dog, which is by a guy named Walter Mosley, who also wrote Devil in a Blue Dress, if anybody knows the old Denzel, or if you know the book, but also it was a Denzel and Don Cheadle movie. But so I wrote a script based on a TV pilot based on his character, Easy Rawlins, who was a PI. And I sent it off to a book agent to see who had the rights. It was actually the agent who owned the literary agency that repped Walter Mosley. And I said, who has the rights? Does anybody have the rights to Ezekiel Rawlins? And she had good and bad news. The bad news was yes, the rights were spoken for, but the good news is she loved my writing. And she was like, I think you have a really strong voice. I think you know what you're doing. Can we speak? We met. She liked my POV. She liked my background. It was like, I want to rep you. Like, I want you to write a novel. So that's how. So that's all of those things kind of together is kind of what made me pivot and start writing books.
And how did you find writing novels and scripts are wildly different formats? Even writing children's books is much shorter than writing a young adult novel. So did you find it difficult? And do you have any tips if there's anyone out there that wants to write a novel?
Well, the first thing is like read. Like that was the big thing for me is when I was first trying to consider how do you format. What's the pacing like? What are those differences? I just read more young adult novels, which I hadn't read since I was a young adult. So I read a few of those, and then other than that was like the big thing. Other than that, I think again a lot of the fundamentals are the same. And when people always ask, well, you write these different things, and you might have even heard me say, I'm like to me it's all that's exhibiting mastery. It's not really being a jack of all trades. It's more being the master of one trade, which is writing, right? And when you are a master of that trade, you can exhibit it in different formats and different mediums. So I say a lot of the fundamentals are the same. It's storytelling, right? Beginning, middle, end, character, setting, arc, wants versus needs, fears versus hopes. Like it's all of those same things. Particularly for me, who write mystery. That was my first novel, which Same with this one, my most recent one. So yeah, a lot of those were the same. It was more about pacing, structure, which again for me, reading other novels, and then just having like, it's much like filmmaking. It's a process, right? You have editors. Like I probably had at least 5 editors on Promise Boys. Like so, they really helped me shape and craft and mold and ideate. So I was in good hands.
Oh, that's great. Moving on to Tien. I really wanted Tien to be on this panel again because he's someone that is found some interesting work in independent TV, which a lot of people don't know that's a thing. I think that there are people like Mark Duplass on the morning show. He is into independently making TV shows and then licensing them. But as someone, so Tien, as I said, was a writer on House of Cards, and he's found some work working in the independent TV space. Can you just give people just a summary, brief overview of the indie show that you're working on and how that came about?
Sure. The thing is, I didn't even know that there was space to work in the indie TV space. It just went back to a relationship that I had back on House of Cards. We'd both risen up as assistants. He became a director, I became a writer. And years later, now he's an executive producer on this project in Florida. It's called A Land Remembered, which is this beloved IP down there about 3 generations of a cattle ranching family as they rise up from cattle ranchers in the 1860s to real estate moguls in the 1960s. This is a really specific case because it's a book that's taught in schools, and honestly, it's loved like a religion down there. So it's, there were people that were coming up to us saying that, other than the Bible, this is the only book I read. And I was like, maybe you don't want to admit that you've only read 2 books in your adult life. But that was a thing that was said more often than once to us. But while we were there, again, Florida doesn't have a great film incentive tax structure, but they were able to max it out with the film commissioner's office because, again, it was a piece of IP that was so beloved. So I recommend to people kind of look at where you're from, and I think you'll be surprised at the sort of IP that is probably readily available and probably available much cheaper than you think it is. And it is a way to use it and try to adapt it into like a book or adapt it into a TV show or a movie or a web series, and you'll be surprised at if you ask around how it can be financed. For us, it was all of these cattle ranchers in Florida that really believed that this book was telling their family story. Wow. So a special purpose vehicle was set up for it. And they can essentially buy into this show as like stocks. And the special purpose vehicle was set up for the TV show and also for the underlying IP as well, so that they could eventually, if there's spin-offs, they have ownership over that as well. Merchandising, there's talks right now of a possible theme park for A Land Remembered. Yeah, I can't imagine. It's like riding cows. It's going to be a roller coaster, I guess. But there's just so you're really thinking in terms of a studio and trying to cover so many aspects from how it could possibly be developed to the pitching process, how it can be brought to the marketplace, and beyond. That wasn't a really short answer. But
no, I think that was very thorough and a perfect answer because it's something that, like I said, indie TV, I think we all know about independent films. That's more of an established market. But I think indie TV is not as established, and so people don't even think to do it, to be honest. To Alesia, I wanted to get to you. Alesia is a creator of a wonderful web series, Avant Guardians. She was also a writer on The Game and is a current Ride Back Rise fellow. But I wanted you to talk specifically about Avant Guardians. It's very funny. Look it up on YouTube if you haven't. But it's basically a web series she made about guardian angels. And you star in it. You wrote it. Did you direct it as well?
I did not direct it, yeah, but I show ran it, which was Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but can you explain sort of what the process it was to make that web series? Maybe go through your writing, how you got funding to do it, and I'll have some follow-up questions after that. But
First off, thank you for having us and hosting this event. Hi, everyone. So yes, as Ray said, I created Avant Guardians in 2017. And it came shortly, the inspiration for it, because there's these two guardian angels in therapy. And the inspiration was like Trump had gotten elected the first time, and I had a lot of feelings. And I wanted to put those feelings into art. And so I guess my process started with finding some real personal inspiration and connection and passion, because, making independent projects can be grueling, it can be hard, but it's so fulfilling if it's purpose driven. And so I wanted to talk, I love doing grief stories. My mom died when I was really young, but I've made a career out of telling dead mom jokes, so it's all good. It's not good, but I have found a way to channel those feelings. So I wrote this web series. First, I made it very producible, so that's another really important thing. So it was a 2-character, 1 location story, where every episode was 1 to 3 minutes long. So that's my way in was, like I said, personal connection and then producibility. And also it was really important for me to have an intention. And the intention was, this was, right before I think Insecure came out, and I was like, I don't see a lot of women that look like me, get these opportunities to lead and to champion their own stories, and so I decided I wanted to do it myself. So, like I said, personal connection, producibility, and then intention. In terms of funding, really it started with trying to put your package together, which is not unlike how TV and film is made on the larger studio level. And what I mean by packaging is who is an asset to your idea that is also accessible. So for me, Zainab Johnson, who plays Alesia on Upload on Amazon, and she's an incredible stand-up comedian. I DM'd her, and I was like, hey, I have this interesting idea that is a personal connection to me. It's fun. We've never seen a guardian angel story. I'd love for you to play the guardian angel therapist. And off the strength of the script, she was like, I'd love to do it. And because we shot it over, it was only gonna be 2 shoot days. She was like, I can lend a weekend. So once I had Zainab, then it was so much easier to get other people to not donate, because I did pay everyone, but it was, people really came down on their rates for me because of all the things that I mentioned. And then funding, I don't know if I would recommend how I funded it, but I will be truthful with you guys. I put it on credit cards. I'm still paying them off. But I was lucky enough that I was an assistant at Disney at the time, and Disney, for whatever reason, their credit union gave a $10,000 limit for their credit cards, and so I immediately maxed it out. But it did help. It at least helped me pay, makeup artists. I'm an AK. I'd asked my line sister to make the costumes, and we were able to pay a really great DP. And honestly, it was also great. Issa says this all the time. You network across. So I reached out to other young people around my age, around my place in, the industry, which was a baby assistant. And I was like, who has equipment? Who has skills? And people really came on board because they loved the story. So that is the process. And then I was also very intentional. I knew that pilot season, because I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to be an actor. So pilot season was, at the time was January, January to May, let's say. And so I knew that I wanted my web series to be done by November, so that agents and managers could watch my web series and hopefully rep me to then catapult me into pilot season, which was actually very effective. So I shot it in October, and we premiered it by November. I did this big event, which I also highly recommend because it brought a lot of executives to be able to watch my work, because it's so much easier for executives to come to a place than to read a script. I'm sure that's, I hope that's not been in your experience, but people came and I got repped, and and was able to, I got so many meetings that next year because of them, and then I like submit to so many film festivals, and so we won an award for Best Short Form Dramedy at the New York Television Festival that year, and got into a bunch of other festivals, and then also I cold emailed, this is long, but this is the last part. I cold email people, cold email everybody, is what I recommend, but I cold emailed like 70 publications, and Essence was one of the, Essence magazine, took pity on me and wrote about me, and I ended up being like one of the Black women web series to watch that year. So that is like, and all of that helped get me reps, and then it got me staffed during COVID because of that, because like people had something to watch, and I think we're really invested in the reasons why I made it.
I love that.
Okay, Sorrel.
Inspiration. But what I love about Alesia's web series, I think there's a common misconception when people think of web series like, oh, I have to go viral, I have to have millions of views for it to get any traction. But that's not the case. Like, how many views do you think Avant Guardians got?
The pilot, or the first episode, I think got like 10,000 views, because I also, from a cold email, got Blavity, like Shadow and Act had also posted about it. But like, it was a real drop off after that. But it was on average like 1,000 views. So really it was just like, just having the product was able to then I was able to leverage that to like film festivals and posts and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So don't think like I said, I talk to people, they get discouraged, like, well, I need to go viral. She was able to get reps to get a job off something that only had a few thousand views, which is attainable for everyone. So reframe your mindset when you think about making independent things. This question is for anyone who wants to ask it. As we know, we're in a downturn. I think the Writers Guild released those numbers that there's 42% less TV rooms happening right now. Can be discouraging. Do you think writers now have to be entrepreneurial, have to do more than just writing to get a job? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes.
Writers have always had to be entrepreneurial. I think right now, especially with studios scared of their own shadows, you have to really take your own careers under control. I will say that I think in terms of the sort of multi-hyphenates, being a writer, director, acting, everything, I think the one that's sort of least talked about is also being your own producer. And really understanding, because it does kind of go at odds with the type of person that you are, that you want to be a writer. You're probably an introvert, most likely. But the thing is, so much of what we do isn't really writing. Like, how much pitching do we have to do? And it's all just sort of practice for you being your own business person and being entrepreneurial and getting out there and producing. I think that's probably one of the sort of vaguest credits in our industry. But all it involves is, well, how do you get your material produced? Get it from the page to the screen. And as you've heard the stories up here, there are many ways to do that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Alesia.
Just quickly, and I obviously I don't know everyone's backgrounds here, but I know sometimes the word entrepreneur can be intimidating, but I just want to offer to you guys that what's really exciting about the word is that you guys have control, that like you guys have power, you can think it and then make it. And I know that there are, there can be roadblocks like resources, but I promise that there is so much empowerment in being like, you know what? I don't want to wait for the gatekeepers. I want to do X, Y, Z, and finding a way through community to do that.
Yeah. I wanted to also touch on, I guess, how do you balance independent work with studio work? Nick, I know you're someone that does music, you write books, you write films. How are you time managing this stuff?
That's a great question. I think I prioritize by what's paying me.
Very, very good.
Just being honest. So that's that, right? And then it's, what I'm passionate about. it's kind of like I guess like the next big thing. Or they kind of hand in hand, right? It's hard to write when you're not passionate about something. And that's it. And you know, just being really smart with your time. I'm not a procrastinator. Like if I get a task, it's actually a bad thing. I'm like all the way on the other end of the spectrum in a bad way, where it's like I figure out I need to do something and I just start doing it. You know, I just drop everything, and so I kind of become a little bit of a workaholic in that sense. But yeah, and then it's kind of tied in with your last question too. But I think it's important to diversify. So you also got to know like what your capacity is, right? Some things you'll have to maybe turn down, or But if you don't got enough going on, maybe it's time to pivot. Like that's how I work, right? If I'm doing music and I'm hitting a roadblock, then I pivot. And I'm doing books, and if I can't get a book sold, okay, I pivot. I go to I kind of just pivot. Right now, I'm like my main focus is the video game I'm working on, which comes out next year.
Everyone.
Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah.
So
Just
that's
a
like
writer right here.
That's like the main priority. But when I took that, I knew okay, this is going to be at least a 2 to 3 year gig. So and then you kind of figure out okay, how do I work around that with my other things? Writing books is a long process. So I had one just now that they were suggesting a pub date of 2028. So. Wow. Perfect, but for me that's good because now that gives me time. So it's just time management, really. That's what it comes down to: knowing your capacity, knowing your limits, and then also having a good team. Having a good team of people. TV, I have a co-writer. Like I said, I have a great agent and editor in books, and so just having like good teammates to help kind of. And then my wife at home with the kids, like she's a great the best teammate. So just having teammates that help me structure my life. So like having good teammates all around really helped. I think really helped me.
Yeah. I wanted to ask a follow-up because you're someone that does so much. I think, at least for me, when I was first starting, I was told, do one thing. You're a writer. That's all you are. You're a writer. And when you try to express different interests, you're sort of discouraged or frowned upon, or people don't think you can do multiple things. But I think for everyone, doing multiple things has been a strength rather than, I guess, a negative. So how are you able to push past that and, I guess, go against naysayers and just do what you got to do?
Man, no, it's so real. And I think people are like afraid of what they don't understand. And so I never forget, I had an exec, literally, I had a show with them, and she said, have you ever considered doing one thing? Like, and this is after we had a show and everything. Like, it was an odd question, and I told her pretty much the same thing I just told you all, is like, all the things that I do it's all storytelling. Even in music, it's all storytelling, right? I started in music. Like, I came up, like, as a kid, I was performing, right? So, yeah, to be honest, you just do it, right? I think for me, the way to push past it, because I'm still pushing past it, is just to continue to do things. It's quality and it's consistency. I think those are the two. That's the short answer: quality and consistency. So if I'm writing books or writing TV or doing whatever I'm doing, if I'm doing it at a quality level and I'm doing it at a consistent level, it's kind of hard for you to look at me and tell me to do one thing, right? Because I can look at you and tell you, well, this is, what I'm saying? Again, read the resume.
Yeah, and you have the credentials to back it up. You're not just saying, oh, I do all this.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's like when you grow your hair and you in that little phase where like, because until you get to that point, it's tough because everybody's looking at you with a side eye. You sound like you don't know what you're talking about. Trust me, I lived it, right? You tell everybody what you're doing and they like, okay. You sound like a grifter or something because you're like, yeah, I do this. I sell clothes, da. And it's like you just remind them of somebody, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's tough. Trust me, I grew up with that life because I just always been into a lot of different things. And I don't know what to say. It's just in me. You know what I'm saying? Like at some point, it's going to happen, right? So I just keep going. And eventually, you'll quality and consistency. And that starts to show. And then people recognize you as the guy that do a bunch of things. Like every time somebody introduces me, they're like, oh, yeah, he does a bunch of things. It's like it just kind of becomes part of it. So I would say you got to push past that. Don't be afraid. Trust yourself. And I think it really does pay off. And you look at the people at the top. Like you look at whether it's Ryan or Issa or even Kenya. Like all of them, they do a lot of different things. And particularly right now, going back to that question about being an entrepreneur, the industry is really about IP, right? It's like packaging and IP. Those are like the two, right? And so, yeah, diversify. Write a book. If you can write a TV show or you can write a movie, of course you can write a book. That's ridiculous to think you couldn't. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw a quote from Donald Glover, who obviously
know,
master
yeah,
of all
yeah.
things, and he said people are always asking him, like, how do you balance music, directing, acting, writing? And he was sort of similar to you. He was basically, I see it all as one thing. Like, you're the one that's separating it, but in my mind, it's all one thing. All these ideas, it's just feed into one another.
Yeah, for sure.
What about Alicia? You know, you are also a multi-hyphenate. Have you found struggles and people accepting you as both an actor and a writer?
Yes. Starting with in my own home. My my family was like, pick one. Hopefully not. Like, they didn't want me to do art at all. But yeah, I also, like you said, had to push past that. It's so important to like get to know yourself, and confidence is something that I still struggle with, but it really was like, no, I know that I want to perform. I've performed my entire life. I know that because people aren't really making things for people that look like me, I wanted to write those things so that I could then perform. And also because I'm a little bit of a control freak, I wanted to produce those things. And so it's okay that you do multiple things, and because the industry can be like an obstacle course sometimes, I think it is good to be able to have the skills to pivot. And so I do think it's pushing past that, and then eventually people leave you alone, or you just stop telling people your business, because it's annoying to get, especially when you're struggling with confidence, and can be hard if someone's like, are you sure? Just the doubt can throw you off. So yes, if that's a yes.
Yeah. So, Tinjin, I want to circle back to you. What were the biggest differences in writing for an independent show versus, you know, a show like House of Cards? What was, I guess, the writing process like? Was there a writer's room? How did it differ?
So there wasn't a writer's room. There was just a sort of consulting room, because we weren't doing any writing at the time. And they're going to go guild signatory next week, so they're going to then bring us back down to Tampa to begin writing. Oh, okay. The biggest difference is speed. I mean, there's just not that much time. When there's independent production, there can be dynamite at all sorts of surprising corners. It'll just completely tear the project apart. So you do have a lot of control, but the thing is, there are just a lot of surprises because it's an independent production. So you don't quite have the safety and security of a studio, but also you don't have a studio always checking in on you and trying to give you notes and making you, again, to that thing of doubt, you know, making you doubt your own vision. So speed is your friend on an independent production, because you're just trying to get it done as fast as possible. So we'll see how the writing goes, and then I can tell you about that. But everything I've seen so far, we just have a shorter amount of time to do things.
Do you know how many writers are going to bring back?
There's going to be 3 writers total.
Okay,
Yeah.
for how many episodes?
For 4 episodes.
Okay.
And 1.5 of the episodes have been written so far.
So, do you know, I guess, what is the production strategy, distribution? Do you know that or not yet? Or do you know, like, you're going to write it, shoot it, and then you have this thing, what are you going to do with it?
There's a few avenues that we're all looking into right now. One of them is taking it like an independent film and taking it to the markets, going to South by Southwest, Sundance, whatever, and trying to sell it as a package. There is also just targeting individual territories as well. There's this Italian show, I think it's called Son of the Century. That's kind of what they did, was target specific foreign markets to pre-sell. And then there's also a third route that I'm a little less familiar with, that the creator and my executive producer friend have been discussing, which is if those 2 sort of normal routes for an independent film don't work out, technically, since the money they raised, the creative team that they have so far, and the sort of talent behind it, they could try to sell it as a package. And it doesn't necessarily have to be to a studio, could even be to a private equity firm to get the rest of the money. That one, again, I'm less familiar with, but that's something that they've been discussing as an option if the first 2 don't work out.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think all of us, we get scared when, you know, studios aren't buying stuff. But the reason why we're doing this event during LA Tech Week, if you don't know that, but we're talking about different avenues, internet apps, there's different ways to get your work out there and not have to be so reliant on these companies who may or may not buy what you're selling. But that doesn't mean that you can't make it and make a profit at it, not just make it, you know, for shits and giggles. We're not doing that. Let me get back to my questions on my phone. So, as we do see this rise, I don't know if you know, there's a lot of rise of YouTube people transitioning into traditional media. I've read a lot in the trades about these filmmakers on YouTube that are getting spec scripts sold, getting crazy amounts of money, even TikTokers. That one girl, Risa Tisa, whatever, telling her story on TikTok. Natasha Rothwell's company optioned that. They're turning that into a TV show. So I guess, what do you make of the digital landscape, and is that something that you think that could be a viable option for people?
I think the industry follows, it's following its tail. It doesn't really know what to do. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not like boots on the ground, so they just know, okay, this is getting a lot of attention online. Let me follow that. I don't know. I mean, who's to say? I think it's one of those things that is all about story at the end of the day, right? So if a TikTok thing is getting a lot of attention, and you put it on screen and it's not a compelling story, it's not going to do well. And what I would bet is going to happen is they'll spend a bunch of money, realize that, you know, maybe some of the people that they're empowering are not traditional storytellers, filmmakers, and so they'll realize the medium doesn't transfer, right? Going from the phone to like the big screen, it doesn't always transfer, and so they'll see they wasted a bunch of money, and then they'll pivot, right? And then they'll try to come up with a new strategy. But it's hard to say. I think some of it will be really successful. I think we've seen it, right? Like we've seen.
Well, Issa,
exactly.
yeah. Broad City was also a web series.
Yeah, we've seen it. Like, so we've also come up in that age in a way. We've seen some success, like with like Issa, but we've also seen the same thing happen with a lot of things that weren't as successful, where it was like the YouTube thing, and all of these people were making web series, and some of them got a lot of money, but Issa's the one we really talk about, which is like one out of
thousands.
You know what I mean? How many? So I think it's similar as far as like the people, you know, creators on TikTok, which I'm trying to be careful because I really respect all creators. I just don't know if everything transfers everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A TikTok story, video, vertical might not make the best cinematic experience, right, in the theater. Everything just doesn't transfer. That doesn't mean that it's less.
Bad, yeah.
You know, it's just I don't know if it'll transfer. So we'll see.
Can I and you? I completely agree with that. And also what's exciting about everyone in this room is that you can take these examples, right, of like TikTokers or influencers that then, you know, get these big deals. You know, they don't always translate because they're not TV or film writers. But what's cool about you guys is that you can take those models and say to yourself, okay, I can use this platform because I see how people can notice. And then you can make sure that what you make in the TikTok space or the micro dramas is becoming a thing, the vertical, you know, series are becoming a thing. You guys can make sure that what you're making is meant to translate. That is like I feel like a mistake I made with Avant Guardians is like I just wanted to show that I could do it, but I wasn't thinking what would Avant Guardians look like as a TV show. And then I won an award and everybody was like, so what's the TV show? I was lucky in that like we sold it to Paramount Plus, but it took me so much longer than it should have to try to translate it. So I'm just saying that like what is interesting is that you guys can use these, you know, these models of success and make sure that you're creating it so that it does end up, you know, it's adaptable.
I think that is wonderful to think about. I also made a web series that was 1 minute, and I had no clue. We optioned it to a studio. I'm like, oh, it's 1 minute. I didn't make it for this. I didn't know. So that is to think of something with the end goal in mind. you're ahead of the game, I think, if you do that, because a lot of people won't be doing that. I wanted to see if anyone had any questions from the audience. Raise your hand, or Kelly will come around with a microphone. Yes.
Thank you so much. This has been really wonderful so far. I think you all were talking about being entrepreneurs as writers, and I was curious, how do you think about being online and social media? Like, I'm personally someone that doesn't really activate that, and I feel like the longer I'm here, I realize I should. But how do you approach that as part of your branding or your business strategy in a way that, is strategic? Like, how do you think of it as a strategy?
I'm not super on social media, but I will say you just don't know where the eyeballs are going to be. To the point of not everything has to be viral. Well, the right person could see what you posted in that moment and want to know your story and want to know what you're working on. So I see the benefit from that perspective. I think it's, if you're looking at it in terms of how many followers can I get, how many likes and views and all of that, that's kind of out of your control. But what you can post and how consistent it could be and the quality that Nick was talking about, that's something that you can just continue to work on. And I think social media just can be another way to expand your toolbox.
And similarly, I'm not huge on social media, but I do try to be intentional about what I post, so that, like, I'm not shooting for tens and thousands of followers, but if anyone goes to my page, they can see, you know, the things I'm working on. So I kind of use at least Instagram as like a brag board is a weird way to say it, but I use it as like my update, my update platform, if that makes sense. But also, you know, if you are interested in, or it excites you in any way, then yeah, go, you know, like, go balls to the wall, in doing whatever resonates with you. And if it doesn't, then at the very least, just make sure you have, you know, some presence so someone at least can Google you. But I do think that it does work for a lot of people. I know my reps have asked many times to, like, create more of a social media presence, because that could be helpful to them in you know, selling me, to opportunities. But I think you also, like, you want to be strategic, but you also want to be true to you. And, like, I'm just not the, like, and here's what I ate, you know, like, that's just not who I am. So, you know, I just kind of, like, try to do it in a way that's authentic to me. So as long as you're doing, you know, it authentically, there's a big range, I think, of what success you can get from that.
I mean, I would agree. This is tough for me because I also was, like, not a social media person, and I recently had to try. I'm trying to be a social media person. Before the books, it was much easier to be off social media. I'm just writing, I'm doing my thing. Now as an author, I'm so front facing, right? I'm constantly in schools, speaking with people. So it's good to have that presence to, again, to be, whether it's to pitch or the people to be able to see what I'm doing. But yeah, be authentic to yourself. Is also, you know, are you selling something? Because basically it's like, if you're selling something, then you should be on there, right? Because this is marketing. As a writer, I guess you could say you're selling services, but if you're just writing, I think it's easier to be off social media. But if you're selling other things, if you're an actor, like if you're selling something, then I think it's important to consider as a brand and marketing strategy to be on social media if you're selling, or if you want to be in front of the camera, right? Because this, I mean, where else can you show people constantly how you are in front of the camera, right? Like, so that's what I would say. If you're in front of people a lot, or you want to be in front of people a lot, or you want to sell something, then you almost have to do it. I always think about, there's a guy, Joel Taylor, who did They Clone Tyrone, was not on social media, right? Ryan Coogler, I mean, he's more now, but he wasn't on social media. Jonathan Majors, pre-trial, you know. He wasn't on social media. So there's all, you know, I used to always try to, like, to pick these people out and say, okay, they could do it without social media, but that's 3 people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure there's others I can name, but those, you know, for me, those is like 3 people. I was like, okay, nah, maybe I got to do it. So yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, I would add, just like to echo what Alesia said, be authentic. I remember everyone was always telling me, you need a Twitter. If you want to be a writer, you got to be on Twitter. And I'm just like, I don't like Twitter. Like, I don't think anything I have to say is that important. Like, people don't need to follow me on Twitter. So I never got on Twitter. And I still got staff. Like, it didn't impact me. But I also knew I had friends that literally got jobs from Twitter. So it's like, it can help you, but if you're not doing it authentically, to your point, it feels forced and people aren't going to resonate with you anyway. So there's no point in doing it. Recently, I got TikTok, and I actually like TikTok. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can be on TikTok. I still don't have Twitter. Anyone else have questions? Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna stand up. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I could hear me. Anyway, so I wanted to ask, like, how do I phrase it? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on politically and socially and stuff like that, and a lot of people are overwhelmed and worried. I'm sure everyone in this room feels the same way, and so how do you, like, juggle that mentally and still focus on, like, writing and writing with passion while you're worried about all these other things that are happening? So,
for me, part of that is channeling it. It's my accent, man. Into the art, right? So, I take this book, Up in Smoke. This is it's a murder mystery about two kids who are trying to solve a murder that happens at a Black Lives Matter protest, right? So, how do I take everything that I'm feeling around me, put it and put it in the stuff that I'm doing? That helps me process. So that's how I deal with it. Is just kind of putting it back into the very things that I'm, and that could be overwhelming too, right? Because already so much. So I think for me, the things I write typically are not very heavy-handed, but it always still is about theme. So what's the question? What's the thematic question that I'm thinking a lot about? That's on my brain that I could put into a story. That's not heavy-handed, but I'm still able to, like, process what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking.
And also be gentle with you. That's a really wonderful question. Like, be gentle with yourself. I think, sometimes there's a culture of, like, just push yourself, but don't push past burnout. Like, I think you have to really listen to yourself. Be honest with yourself. If you could be writing, then write. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a walk. There's a Brene Brown quote that really resonated with me, especially during the pandemic, which is, some people think the opposite of work is, some people think the opposite of work is play, but the opposite of play is depression. Hold on. I don't think I said it right. The point, sorry. The point is, if you're always, sometimes we think that, like, we can only, like, give ourselves time off once you've worked. But if you work too hard, that exactly. Sorry, wow, I really shouldn't have. Okay, anyway, but, like, really, thank you.
We got you.
But yes, I think that, like, really try to diversify your day. Take the walk, put your toes in the sand and in the grass. You guys are in LA, like, not everyone can go to the beach and also then go take a hike by a waterfall. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, go do something else. And I think it's also helpful to set weekly goals versus daily goals, because that's how you keep your heart soft, is if you forgive yourself at the end of every day. And so if you don't want to always create daily goals, because then you might disappoint yourself. I'm not making sense. The point is, be kind. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, I've been kind of wrestling with this, like all of us have. You're trying to figure out a way to making your writing process feel like a safe one, so that, it becomes not necessarily therapeutic, but it feels like at least you're accomplishing something with it. And if it feels like that, it's not necessarily that you can turn the world off, but I think that, it's you're kind of more in tune with it in some ways.
Hi, my name is Nikki. Thank you guys for being here. My question is for Nick or anyone who can answer, but you said something earlier that I'm in the process of doing right now. You mentioned how you wrote something based off a character and you submitted it to get advice on who has the rights to it. So I wrote a remake of a film, and I'm in the process of trying to figure out who has the rights to it, because I'm looking up on IMDb, trying to figure it out, Google, crazy. So it's like so many different names. But with someone who doesn't have, like, a production company backing me up at the moment, not yet, how can I go about getting the rights to a film that I'm trying to remake and get into a room where I could pitch this idea, as opposed to, like, just by myself? Because I don't want to, like, reach out to someone and then I'm on the radar, like, oh, well, we don't want to give you the rights because I'm not a name yet. I'm just trying to figure out like how can I go about doing that. I hope I phrased that question.
No, I get your question. What I would just tell you, I don't know the right or wrong answer, but I can tell you how I would approach it. There's actually a film called In a Lonely Place that I really, really love. It's about a writer. It's a murder mystery. For me, the way I would approach it, once I know who has the rights, is packaging, right? So what that means is I would try to go to a actor, producer, director, production pod, right? So that's kind of like, I don't, for me, and in the only place I would go to maybe like House 1110, which is like Yahya Abdul, right? Because maybe he could be the lead, right? So now I'm getting the actor and I'm getting the production pod in one. So what I'm saying is like I would try to your point, because I think you make your very, very smart point, is like you don't want to come off, you don't want to get shut out, right? So I think trying to package it in a way, find those people who are assets and accessible that help strengthen your chances, right? Because then the other thing that's going to happen is their reps are going to go do it. So you don't even have to, so even if you don't have a rep, like even if you're not connected right now, you get a good actor or whatever, their reps are going to go do it for you anyway. So that's how I would approach it. I would try to go get, like I said, actor, director, producer, somebody who moves the needle, and then let it go from there. That's how I would approach it. Yeah.
Any other? Oh yeah, multiple. Thank you, Kelly.
Hi, my question is, I know you guys talked a lot about the like using social media like in a digital space in terms of like Instagram and TikTok. Do you think there's any space with like blogs like Substack or like Medium? Do you think there's any opportunity there to try to like promote your work and like get an audience, especially like if the concept that you want to create is new and it's not IP?
You go first.
I don't have a Substack, but from the friends that I have that do, I do think that there's value in it, especially as a writer. But I have heard that it is effective, or it can be effective to pair it with, like an Instagram, for example. So like, writing something on Substack and then taking a quote and then putting that on Instagram or TikTok so that it has, it gives you more reach. But absolutely, I think that there is so much value in something like Substack and blogging, as long as you're able to find a platform that can then visually, because we're such a visual society, I think pairing it with a visual medium, I think could be really helpful.
Agreed. Yeah, there's value for sure.
Yeah, and Substack is great, and there's also one, like, not Wattpad. There's some like other fan fiction site that is very popular. Like my managers were always trying to be like, can you adapt this whatever Wattpad story is? But it's not. There's another one, not Wattpad. There's another one. But like these fan fiction sites, a lot of these things are getting optioned. It's crazy. Like
all about IP. Like people they really want IP. So.
Yeah. So write wherever you can.
That's kind of my view on all the platforms. Yeah. If you're asking yourself, should I do this? Just go for it. If there's nothing to lose, just try it out, because you don't know who's going to be surfing the web at that moment, scenes, really connecting with the story that you've posted.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and Roy Lee was on there. He's a producer of like Saw and I think The Conjuring, like a lot of horror movies. And he said that he's on TikTok, like looking at filmmakers all the time, because he's like, if there's someone I see that has a good eye for something, even if the story's not strong, if it's not, I know I can work with this person if they have cool ideas and like a cool visual style. And he finds people on TikTok and gives them deals. So that was crazy to me. So I think whatever platform, it doesn't matter. Whatever platform resonates with you. Like I said, I don't like Twitter, but I like TikTok. Whatever resonates with you, as long as you're doing good stuff, I think the cream rises to the top, as they say.
Hi, thank you guys so much for being here. It's been super inspiring to hear all of your stories. I had a question about representation. I know two of you talked a bit about how you came into yours, but a little bit just like, one, what did you look for in a rep? And then also, do you find it easier to come to someone with a specific project versus like cold emails and just query letters and a portfolio?
That's a really great question. I'm going to answer the second question first, which is like, do you come with a specific project? I do think that you should have something to offer. Because if they're going to represent you, they have to have something to represent. It's not just you. So if you are a writer, you should have a script that you are being able to present them so that they can represent that script in addition to you. If you're an actor, having some sort of reel, like something that they can represent. I also really recommend, like I'm repped at CAA and I got repped by them because of my web series, but I got a manager because I was doing stand-up. And so like I said, it's so much harder to get agents and people to read something, but they will come to a show, and if not them, their assistants will, their coordinators will, like everyone's trying to rise. And so it's just putting yourself out there, put yourself in a play, get on stage, do some poetry, because like so many, it's literally people's jobs to attend all the shows and things in the industry. And that's how I got my manager. And I was young and I really didn't have much more than like one script, but they came to a show and they liked the stories I was telling on stage. Also, highly recommend stand-up. Even if it's not your thing, do it, okay? People come to stand-up shows, okay? It's a great writing, is what I'm saying. It's like you, instead of waiting for someone to read a script, like I found a lot of value in like, you could write something, that morning and then put it up on stage and you get instant feedback. So I also recommend just in general, like getting as much reps as you can, through whatever way that you can.
The rest of you?
I started actually working at an agency, and the way that agents and all reps work is, they're like water. They're always flowing towards the path of least resistance, honestly. So
don't want to work.
They
sounds
don't
like mine.
Yeah.
They're not
only
here.
Recently. Only recently, maybe I've become a little bit more compassionate because I understand their client lists are just gigantic. And everyone's always working on so many different projects at the same time. So, they just want to go where the momentum is. So I think for reps, if you haven't signed with a rep yet, I recommend having them come to you. You want them to really come to you and be excited about you. I haven't seen the opposite work out quite as well when people are chasing and trying to get a rep to sign them, because you're trying to convince them to work for you, and then after you've convinced them, you've got to convince them to keep working for you. It's hard. It's a really, really hard climb. To your first question about what to look for in a rep, for me, it was because I had kind of seen behind the scenes. It was, well, what do they offer me as a rep that I couldn't do myself? So that was the rubric that I was using.
Agreed. Yeah, I would say I would look for somebody who's excited to rep me. Like that's gonna be your best bet. Yeah.
Yeah, and about having them come to you. I know that's not what people want to hear. It's not what I wanted to hear when I first started, but it's 100% true. Just to Tinjin's point, it's hard enough, especially as a lower level writer. It's hard enough for them to work for you even when they found you. So imagine if you chase that person down, they really don't want to work for you.
And if I could just say, because when I wanted to rep, I just thought it was some magic button that they were gonna press. I just want to say for anybody who's like, man, I really need a rep. It's not like they change your life. You know what I'm saying? Like they are just a conduit, help you get paid. If you're like, yo, I need you to talk to these people. But even being repped, a lot of my work still comes from me, my network, the people I know, people I've worked with before. So if it's on your mind, like, yo, okay, I just got to get that rep, and then that's gonna change everything. Like, it don't even work like that. So don't think you missing out on some thing that everybody else has, and that's why their career is going. It's like, nah. It's like the rep is just kind of building off your own momentum. So just to kind of ease, you know what I'm saying? If you feel like, yo, I really, really need a rep, it's not even that deep.
No, you can definitely get staffed without a rep. I would actually recommend you don't have reps. Like, I went to an event, Amy, I'm just saying, they're not here, it's okay. I went to an event with Amy Aniobi's production company a few weeks ago, and like the head of Hulu Comedy was there, and she said, like, if you're just starting out, don't have reps, because you can get a job without reps, and you're gonna have to pay these people whether or not you got the job or not. I got staffed on my own. I still had to pay my rep because I had a manager, so he was just taking 10% and didn't do anything. So that's also a thing, like, you can get staffed on your own. I would, like, honestly not have reps as long as possible. I wish that I had done that, so I would have kept my money. Is there time? Oh yeah, we're wrapping it up now. So thank you for all your questions. Nick has his book here. He's gonna assign some copies of his book over there if you'd like to get one of those. And yeah, thank you so much. Stay tuned. Brief break before we start our short film showcase at 11:45.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what a wonderful day it's been so far. Thank you everyone for being here and being involved. We're gonna just hop right in. We're talking about deals in distro, finance and distribution. Today we have representatives from the California Film Commission, from KweliTV, from Seed and Spark, and from Kinema. I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourselves because I want you to open with your areas of passion and how your passion led you to your respective places that you're in now. But also, please also share the other hats you wear and how that also informs the work you do. So you want to start from here and go down?
Sure. Hi, my name is Vora. I head marketing at Kinema. Kinema is a global distribution platform. We support filmmakers and TV makers in distributing their films, and I'm sure I'll talk more about how we do that. But just in terms of my, I guess, journey and passions and how I got here, maybe the short story is that I co-founded an organization called Gold Comedy, and we very much an organization like In the Cut. We support women that were growing their careers in entertainment, but specifically comedy. And a lot of the programs, it was a lot of classes and community, and it focused a lot on sort of like the development and the production part of the entertainment life cycle, and I really felt like I didn't have enough sort of knowledge of how to support our community through distribution, and so I went down a rabbit hole and did a lot of research, and it was how I came to find out about Kinema and other platforms like it. And long story short, I reached out to the CEO of this company and bugged her for a while, and we found ways to work together, and then I was like, I think that I can help you, and so I joined, and I've been here for about a year and a half.
Awesome. Nice to meet you. I love it. I'm flanked by two distribution outlets, the one that I know and love already. So I'm Fanshen Cox. I'm with the California Film Commission. I'm in the tax credit program. And I never thought that I'd be working for the government, let alone being able to kind of help people get funds, but here I am, been there for about a year and a half, and I'll talk more about how to get tax credits in California and the ways that we're encouraging people to stay here in the state. My passion, as you asked, and Elon knows this, is Sister Brunch, so I'm the producer and host and co-creator of the podcast Sister Brunch. We uplift the stories of Black women and gender-expansive people thriving in entertainment and media. Elon is an alumni guest, and Ray is an alumni guest, and DeShuna is an alumni guest, and maybe some of y'all out here, and if you haven't been yet, we'd love to have you on. It's all about sharing your stories and archiving them so that the industry cannot say that we don't exist.
Hi everyone, I'm DeShuna Spencer. I'm the founder and CEO of KweliTV. We're a streaming service that curates independent Black films from around the world. So I tell people everywhere but Antarctica we have films from. Literally. But one day with the climate change, I keep telling people we may be making films there pretty soon. But we have over 900 titles. We work with nearly 500 filmmakers globally. And my passion is really around authentic storytelling. I'm a former journalist. And as a former journalist, I feel like I was doing the opposite from telling authentic Black stories and telling celebratory stories. I was a cop reporter. As a cop reporter, you tell the worst what's happening in our communities, and I really wanted to change that. So I decided to start an online magazine, and then the online magazine turned to doing a documentary, and the documentary turned into a love for independent filmmaking and just talking with a bunch of filmmakers around the world, seeing the need for the type of platform that we created, and also creating a safe space for our customers to decompress from the things we're seeing constantly in the news and on social media, and have a safe space for us to watch content that celebrates who we are as a people. So that's what KweliTV is all about.
Hi, I'm Gabriella Bottoni. I am the Creator Success Senior Manager at Seed & Spark. We're a crowdfunding platform specifically geared towards independent filmmakers and other creative storytellers, so podcasts and books and literally anything. I am a filmmaker myself. I'm an independent artist out here in LA. I do improv comedy at the UCB Theater, so
no pressure to be funny, yeah. You two. I'm like, oh, that's a lot.
So, I mean, I found Seed & Spark through needing a job, but I had crowdfunding experience. I was working as an associate producer at a production company, my first job out of college, and just like completely making every single mistake you possibly could in crowdfunding, yet still raising money somehow. So that experience led me to Seed & Spark, and in the meantime, I've just been able to work with truly thousands of independent creators, helping them get their campaigns ready, setting them up for success so they can bring their stories to life. And it's been very rewarding.
Thank you. Yes. So at Black Film Allegiance, our motto is if denied access, create your own. And so yes. These are the people you want to talk to in order to make that happen. So now let's talk more about how to do the crowdfunding. You mentioned some of the mistakes that you made as a filmmaker. Do you mind first explaining how independent filmmakers and content creators can use Seed & Spark as a resource and kind of what those common mistakes may be that you referenced?
Yeah, I mean, crowdfunding is a really fabulous accelerator for your audience building efforts. It's the only platform in tech where you have like a direct relationship with your audience, meaning it's not controlled by the platform itself. You walk away with audience data, emails, names, phone numbers. You know exactly who they are, what they're interested in. That kind of value is huge, especially in the context of distribution. But yeah, crowdfunding is super useful for that. It forces you to do that essential work of filmmaking, which is audience building, that never stops, and can really create a burst of momentum around your project to propel it forward. So, I mean, there's so many common mistakes, but the one I made maybe was just mass CC blasting everybody and thinking that was all you had to do, when really it's about creating one-on-one, personalized, passionate, direct connections with other human beings who share a mutual passion. You're making these projects for a reason. You have a really strong why underlying why you put all that blood, sweat, and tears into your film, and that's the connective tissue between you and all the individuals out there that you want to invite personally to join your journey. So that's the biggest overall.
And what would you say is the biggest distinction between Seed & Spark and other crowdfunding platforms?
This, like me talking directly to you about it, is probably the biggest thing. Like, I have viewed thousands of pitch videos and story sections and reviewed rewards, and we give personalized feedback. So every single project that submits to Seed & Spark gets personalized feedback from a real human being. It's literally me, and I have one part-time employee, Rocco, who's also wonderful. We look at every single project. We give you feedback on your pitch video. We have education ready to give you, to teach you how to do it successfully. We pause you in that process when you submit to make sure you have all the tools and education you need to crowdfund successfully. We look at your goal size. If it's astronomical, we go, hold on, what's your audience size? Let's talk about audience building first. What's your outreach strategy look like? We have these conversations with you, we hold your hand, and we charge 0 platform fee for it. So I think that's pretty great. No other platform does that. But that's because our mission is to get stories that need to be told made. Like, we want creators to be successful, so we know that it's not as simple as just posting a crowdfunding campaign and waiting for the dollars to roll in. There's a lot of education that needs to happen to make that happen.
Yeah, thank you. And the resources you guys offer and the virtual events that you have is so incredibly inclusive and informative. It's very helpful to have that one-on-one interaction to figure out how to do it, especially when it's your first time. So what does it look like to use that long term? Like, if you say, you know what, I'm done with the studio system, I want this to be just my all the time thing, how do you sustain that for a career?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's the audience building of it all, right? Like I said, crowdfunding is, by practice, it's you audience building really hard. And that direct relationship that you can build makes a successful crowdfunding campaign, but it also allows you to have another crowdfunding campaign for your next project. You're literally getting the audience data of your audience specifically, so you're bringing that with you. So the idea is not just to fund your film, like we traditionally think of crowdfunding as funding production. It can be that, but it's also growing your crowd, which is the more valuable piece, I think, because it sets you up to do it the next time and the next time. And then with that audience data, you're able to directly tell your audience where you're going to be streaming your film, onboarding them directly to however you're going to distribute whatever this project is or your next project. So I think that's really the value, is that it gets everybody out of the way and just creates a direct line between you and the people watching your film.
That's important. Streamlining that is very helpful when you're trying to raise money. So yeah, thank you for that. So now, in terms of access and creating opportunity, Fanshen, I'd love to hear more about the California Film Commission office and resources that maybe people don't even know are available for them.
Yeah, definitely. So the California Film Commission, we're located in Hollywood. I like to say just above Bob Marley's star on the Walk of Fame, if you ever want to come visit for lunch. And we do a few things that I also wasn't aware of. So we do permits and locations. So for permitting, I hadn't known that all state-owned property in California, it is free to permit those locations. Did y'all know that? Did anybody know that? I know. So there are always fees like insurance and monitor fees and things like that, drone fees, but the permits themselves for state-owned properties, parks, beaches, all of that, those permits are free. And we do those at our office, so you reach out to us, let us know where you'd like to permit. We also have a locations library. It's a huge database. You can also add your own location if you own a place, or you can add your location and then they'll recommend those for folks. Our biggest program is the tax credit program, the tax incentive program, and you might have heard that the governor recently approved $750 million annually for our program. Yes. Yes, and that is to keep productions here in California, either bring them back, those that have left, or keep them here. I'll rip off a Band-Aid real quick and say that the minimum, even this is so hard for me to say. So the minimum budget for a film to apply for tax credits in California is $1 million. So when I was very discouraged by that when I first got there. And then really, from knowing my colleagues and knowing filmmakers and seeing the budgets that we're applying, I've started to realize that we have every right to make projects at that budget level. And we need to think more aspirationally that we can reach that level and beyond. So first of all, right? When you hear that $1 million, we have this category that's $1 million to $10 million, and that's your sweet spot. Because those films, they're indie films in this California tax credit program, and that means that the tax incentives can be transferred to cash. So I'll just explain what that means really quickly. Tax incentives are basically tax breaks, right? They really originally were made for studios. You know, the studios who have a lot of tax liability. They owe payroll, like we all pay taxes, you know, in April, right? But they have a huge liability. So what the tax incentives say are you don't have to pay these taxes. It's not we're giving you money. It's not straight cash, which would be so nice. It's really we're giving you a discount on what you would have to pay us anyway. But for independent films, you actually can convert that tax credit into cash. You do that by making a deal with a broker, and usually they pay about 90 cents on the dollar, so you are paying for that. But it is a way for you to actually have cash. So when you're raising money and you're talking to investors, you can let them know that you'll be applying for the tax credits and you'll have this cash to give them back. So I was a teacher for a long time. It is my passion to teach people how to do this. I was so afraid of it before I started, and now I'm like, no, there's nothing to be afraid of. This is our money. Come get it, y'all. So happy to talk about it more.
Thank you for that, and it's information we need to know, so thank you for that education. Kind of on that same topic of money, what other resources, grants, or other opportunities are there for filmmakers, especially filmmakers of color?
Yeah, I wish there were more actual grants out of the Film Commission. One of the challenges is we work for the governor, so we're not able to, for the government and the governor, so we're not able to support projects because it would be a conflict for the projects that get into the program. However, another thing that I learned is when projects do get in the program, they have to give a 0.25% contribution from a 0.25% of their tax credit allocation contribution into our Career Pathways program. So the Career Pathways program gives that funding, which has been around $800K annually and will grow with this new amount, and then that gets divided among organizations like the Handy Foundation, Hollywood CPR, Manifest Works. Hopefully we'll get In the Cut and Black Film Allegiance in there, right? We're always putting out RFPs to bring on other organizations. And then another program, the other accountability measure that productions have for filmmakers of color and emerging filmmakers is called Career Readiness. And so all productions, in addition to that financial 0.25%, they also have to do one of 5 things. They have to bring on a paid intern, or they have to do a set visit with professors, teachers, or set visit with students. They can make a financial contribution, and I'm forgetting on my 5th one. Or a virtual panel. But this is also an opportunity. I want to make sure we know, like Black Film Allegiance is on our list, In the Cut is on our list. We have a list of those kinds of places where productions, if they choose to make that financial contribution, then that would go out to those organizations. So we have a few things. I'd love to have more.
Well, on that same topic, in terms of what does exist, what doesn't, what we have access to, are there any misconceptions about what functionality that the CFC has?
Yeah, I would say the biggest misconception is that tax credits are cash, and that's what I was hoping they were. It sounded so good when everyone was saying 750 million. I was like, right, so they're not, right? So I would say that, and then number 2, that they're impossible. They're not impossible. I love to shout out this one person. His name is Manny Haley, and Black-owned media company. They've gotten, I think, the most number of tax credits out of the studios, et cetera, for years now. So it is possible for us to get tax credits. It's complicated, but that's what I'm here for, to walk you through, help you figure out how to maximize your application, how to figure out how to maximize the tax credits that you get. It is not impossible. I think, some folks wanted us to think it was impossible, so we wouldn't get that money. It's not. And so that's really, it's for us. It's state money. We pay for it anyway, if you think about it, so.
Now we know.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a better understanding of how to get financing. Now let's talk about distribution. So let's start with Kinema. So how does that platform work? How do you get content on there? What should I know about that as an independent creative?
Yeah. So first and foremost, Kinema is a platform that is available to everybody. It takes no rights. We're not exclusive. So it's really sort of adding kind of a distribution window to your film's release or to your TV show's release. I'll talk primarily about films. That's our main case study, and then I think we'll later maybe talk about TV. But we've been around for the last 5 years, specifically supporting films in their distribution. The ways in which we do that are two ways primarily. One is in event booking, and the other is in film streaming. So on the event side, there's 3 different ways that you can host an event using Kinema. One is an in-person event. Anywhere, you can think about Kinema as using your community cinema rights or your non-theatrical distribution rights. So you can host screenings in person in a space like this. You can also host events, they're live virtual events. So live virtual events. And then you can also do something called an on-demand event. And an on-demand event is an interesting, it's sort of a streaming window, but it's not considered streaming. And so that's important to know. You can create a window anywhere from 1 to 30 days that you make your film available for on-demand streaming, and that does not conflict with your digital release. So you can still sort of preserve your digital rights, your streaming rights for whatever plans you may have later in your distribution cycle. I don't know how familiar people are with the distribution journey, but the way that I'll just explain windowing very briefly, which is to say that for independent films, often you think that going into the process, the dream is I get my film into Sundance and Netflix buys me. That's sort of like the option A dream scenario, and that's not the scenario you ever
You're being so
on.
nice, right?
And that would be amazing if that happened, and also be prepared for something different. And so what could that something different look like? You want to think about what are the different windows of your film's release. Film festivals are often a great way to start. They're not the only way to start, but they are a great way to start. A lot of those film festivals are happening all over the country or all over the world. They're expensive to get to. They're expensive to submit to. You're not going to get into all of them, and so that is its own gate-kept process, but it can be helpful, and so that's often the very first window that you start with. And then, often people, after their film festival cycle, or even during, they're having a lot of conversations with distributors, with sales agents, with people that they think can help them get onto a big streaming platform. But there's this window in between where you can kind of build your own film festival, doing things like creating in-person gatherings and screenings, virtual events, on-demand events, starting to build your own momentum, a lot of audience building that Gabriella talked about. And in doing that, you get a lot of data, you know who your audience is, you're making some money, you're maybe having a more direct impact depending on what your film is about. You get to curate what those experiences are. And you can use that data often as leverage to get the deal that you want, because you can then say, you don't have to put together a pitch deck necessarily and say, here's the audience and here's what I think the audience size is. You can say, here's a real ass audience with some real money that I made. And so, kind of thinking about inserting what I call a Kinema window into your distribution cycle can often help you secure, the platform deal that you want on the back end. And then, should that happen for you or not happen for you, you can also use Kinema for streaming. Sorry, that was but you can also use Kinema for streaming, and again, non-exclusive. We don't take any rights. It's a standard revenue share, and so often people can carve out their Kinema rights, especially if they're using Kinema for event screening beforehand. And so you can still be on many other platforms, your Apples, your Googles, your Amazons, and be on Kinema. And the rev share is a little bit better. You have a little more flexibility. The last thing that I'll say about streaming is on the flexibility point, you can create a premium TVOD window, a transactional video on demand window. And so you get to set the pricing for that. And so you can, when it's early and when your film is sort of still in this really exclusive period where it's not available everywhere, for the people that are really excited about your film or excited about you as a filmmaker, want to support you and are willing to pay that $15 fee or that $20 fee for a rental, they'll pay that money, and then you can sort of make it available for $3.99, $4.99, $5.99 later. But yeah, you can always put it on the Amazons and the Googles and the whatever. So I like to think about, make sure that you've done sort of everything that you can do for your film to grow your audience. All of that actually ends up being marketing and fuels word of mouth, and can actually serve your digital release later. So that was a big ramble. My big takeaway, honestly, is don't rush to get on a platform. Really, like, that's, if there's anything that you take away, like Sundance to Netflix, there's like no time in between that. Like, build in some time, it will help you.
Thank you for that. Although, yeah, no, it was helpful. It was helpful and necessary, especially the part you said about data, because data is something that, again, you can leverage to get additional funding. So that's really great to know. But then also with what you were saying about having other platforms of distribution like Amazon. So then to confirm, you can be on Kinema and on other platforms as well.
many films are. Yeah.
Yes. So we wanted to talk about streaming for TV on there also. And we talked about how Long Long Night used Seed and Spark for fundraising, and then Kinema for distribution. So what does it look like to segue more from studio to an indie film life using these platforms with TV, for those that are interested in TV?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in that case study specifically, Mark Duplass's team ran a campaign kind of gearing up for their Kinema release for the PVOD of the Long Long Night series. So having a crowdfunding campaign leading up to that allows you to build this sense of urgency and exclusivity around it that can really jumpstart it with a big boost of momentum. So I think they recouped 60% of their budget through that process, which is extremely helpful for whatever the next steps in your distribution journey are for, your series. And our CEO, Emily, she also ran one similarly, but hers was more of an impact campaign. So she had a feature documentary that she crowdfunded for last year, Ratified, where the impact screenings and hosting screenings was more of the focus. And running the crowdfunding campaign not only covered some of the hard costs of that process, but it also kicked off this huge momentum for her, where the following 3 months after the campaign ended, she hosted 65 additional screenings through Kinema. So it can really be a generator of, like a big accelerator for that process.
That was actually the Ratified case study is what ended up being sort of like the spark of an idea for now. Seed and Spark and Kinema have an independence partnership. And it was because that process for Ratified of starting on Seed and Spark, building audience, leveraging that audience to then host a bunch of screenings, that worked so well for that film and was sort of a case study or a moment where we were like, oh, this could work well for lots of other films. And so the sort of, at least from the Kinema side, I think there's a lot that you can say from Seed and Spark, but at least from the Kinema side, if you're starting your crowdfunding campaign on Seed and Spark, you build a followership of, I think it's 500, then your onboarding fees on Kinema are waived, which they're minimal as it is. It's, I think, a couple $100 for the year. And then the rest of our fees are rev share, but they're waived completely, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. You're rewarded for the audience building work that you do. Yeah. And yeah, through this partnership that we have with Kinema, we are encouraging creators to tie in these screenings and these the advanced screening links and the live in-person or virtual screenings into their reward tiers. And it's just proving to be a really fruitful way to like propel you forward into that self-distribution plan.
Okay, yeah, so We're eating, we're feeling fed. DeShuna, we are ready for desserts. So can you please tell us, can you please tell us what Kweli means and how your platform works?
Yeah, so Kweli means truth in Swahili. And so we're a traditional streaming service. We, as I mentioned, we curate independent Black films that have been in film festivals. And how our platform works is anyone can submit their film to the platform on our website. You can go to KweliTV. There's a form called Submit Form. You put in the link to like a screener, the festivals the film has been in, trailers, and we take a look at it and then decide if we think it would be a good fit for the platform. We're highly curated, and so every film that's sent to us doesn't always make it on the platform because we are looking for certain types of films. We believe in telling authentic stories, and we also are trying to minimize like stories that are monolithic and demeaning and stereotypical. And so that's a really important aspect of the type of content that we take. So we're very upfront about that. So we tell people that, right away, so they're not like alarmed about, why the film wasn't taken. But we're very intentional about the types of films that we take on the platform.
Which I very much appreciate, and that's like water on a hot day. We need that. Can you elaborate more about why it was important to center Black joy in your content?
Thank you. So as I mentioned, as a former journalist, I was receiving the opposite of that. I wasn't feeling joyful when I was a reporter. When I would watch certain shows on TV or watch certain films, I wasn't filled. And I went on this journey to figure out, and this is before I started the company, so I was like, where are these films that I want to see? It's February, and I still don't see Black history. I love my throwback 90s movies, but man, have people get shot, someone's about to leave out of town the moment they're about to move to Atlanta from wherever, they shot it back, and what I'm saying? It's like, oh my God, we almost get out the hood. I just, I mean, they're amazing films, but there's more to our communities than trauma. And I wanted to see that, and I could not find it. And so I went on this journey to figure out, I know these films, they have to exist somewhere. And this was a decade ago. So there were these blogs that had these amazing independent films. Okay, these films are great. How do I see them? Oh, I need to go to a festival to find these films. I can't afford to travel everywhere. And so maybe these streaming services have these films. And while there were a few of them, there weren't enough for me. And it's maybe there's a Black streaming service that has these films. And I didn't see it. And then literally I was doing research online. And then I literally said out loud, I'll do it. Literally, that's sort of how it started. And I said, wait, what I just said to myself? I said, what? I had an online magazine. My background is in film. I did one documentary. And so I did not really know what I was doing. Honestly, I just knew I know good content when I see it. And so I just started to build brick by brick. But the whole goal is especially right now, I mean, even a decade ago, we were dealing with so much trauma, but what's happening now, oh my God, it's too much, right? We need a reprieve. We need a place where we feel like we know what's happening in the world, and even if our platform may talk about these issues, hopefully there's hope within that, right? You can say, okay, this person had this issue, but they get out, they're able to overcome. That's what we want people to. We want people to have hope, despite what's happening in the world. And I think it's so important for us now, in a time when other people don't want us to have hope, they want us to give up. They don't want us here, in this country, right? And so I want to make sure that we feel seen and we feel loved, we feel cared for. And our platform is like a big hug, right? That you feel like you're at home when you're watching KweliTV.
Beautiful. Yes, beautiful. Another aspect of that means a lot to me, and I'm sure many of us here, is your intentionality when it comes to including the whole diaspora. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned having something everywhere except for Antarctica for now. Right. But can you speak more about why including the entire diaspora was important?
So, two things. I'm from Memphis. I live in DC now, but I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. And growing up, I didn't see a lot of diversity outside of, Southern Blacks, northern people who are Black, whatever. And I just felt that there wasn't a lot of great representation, especially coming out of Africa. It's definitely gotten a lot better now. I mean, a lot better. But as a kid, you would see Africa, and it was, flying, Ethiopians with flies, and really horrible scenarios, or child soldiers, from Rwanda, and you actually think that's only thing that comes from the continent. And I really wanted to showcase the other side of what it means to be of African descent and show how beautiful we are globally in a way that I felt that wasn't National Geographic-y, if that makes sense. I feel like, you know, if there was a story, it's like, oh yeah, some white guy is telling a story about us, and in a way that's almost, I don't know, exploiting us in a way, right? And so our filmmakers who are from Africa, like, they're from the community. If a film is from Rwanda, the filmmaker's from Rwanda, and there's a film from Tanzania, the filmmaker is from Tanzania. Like, they're actually within our communities. They're telling their own stories, and we weren't seeing that for quite a while. And so, and not just here, it's not just in Africa, but like the Caribbean or Latin America. I remember the first time I went to Belize, I was like, wait, it's us. Y'all black. I mean, I went to some store, and some girls like, oh my God, what type of hair care? We were talking about hair care. Yeah. A woman from Belize. I'm like, they're hiding them. Like, they're hiding the black folks. They are. They're hiding them. We're not hiding the black folks at KweliTV. And I think, like, it's so important for us to see, like, we are everywhere, and no matter where we touch, no matter how we came to those countries, especially outside of Africa, but like in the Americas and Europe, we bring our flavor. And we show that on our platform. We show the flavor that we sprinkle in different parts of the world. And so I think it's just important to showcase that.
See, full and fed flavor.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you. So just to make sure we're clear, to get content on Kweli, how do we do it? What are the steps?
So you go to our website, Kweli.tv. There's a form that says submit content. So if you're on your phone, basically it's like some lines on the side, you click it, you see submit content. There's an actual form there. You can actually submit directly in the form. We'll just ask for the link of like the trailer. We'll ask for the link of the screener. We'll ask for a list of festivals it's been in. If it's a web series, you don't need festivals. It's just for film. And not to say we only take, mostly, right? Like 98% of our films have been in film festivals, but every once in a while we do take a really, really good film that decided to bypass that film festival circuit and is actually really good, and we will take that. So don't feel like, oh my God, it wasn't a festival, so she won't look at it. We will at least look at it, but just know that most of our films have been in film festivals. And usually within like 3 months, we'll get back to the filmmaker if we think it's a good fit. But it's really simple. It's a form. It's a type form. It takes probably about 5 minutes to fill it out. We want to try to make it as easy as possible to submit content.
Excellent. Okay, so before we get close to moving towards questions, so start thinking of those, I want to give you guys an opportunity to pub any projects you have going on or any opportunities that there are for filmmakers from your organizations in any order that you'd like, whoever has something.
Listen to Sister Brunch. Listen, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, and every listen helps. Speaking of data, right? Even if you're not able to, of course, we always will take donations as well, but if you're not able to help fund us truly, and the same, I can say, right, for all of these platforms, it's like every view, and if you need to just put it on and do your laundry or whatever you need to do, just have it playing, because that really makes a difference. Not to mention, I always say for folks that are, especially if you're just entering the industry, I strongly recommend you listen to the guests and then reach out to them. We curate our guests, and we make sure there are people that would want to, have someone reach out to them, ask for a virtual coffee, tell them you heard them on Sister Brunch, talk about something personal they shared on the episode. We want you to think of it as your connection to people that you may not know, but you want to know.
So you can follow us on social media, KweliTV, KweliTV, and you can also subscribe too. So if you take out your phone, it's no pressure, but literally it's $5.99 a month. 60%, one of the things I didn't mention, 60% of our revenue goes to our content creators. We pay every single quarter. We keep open books. Everyone sees how well everyone's film is doing. It's very unorthodox, but yeah, whether you have a short film, whether you have a documentary, whether you gravitas, you have a 10-year film, you get the same spreadsheet. It's the same. Everyone gets the same thing. And so, but yeah, I always tell people subscribing to KweliTV means you're supporting independent filmmakers, because 60% of our revenue goes to them every single quarter, and we know that for some platforms, they may think they're going to give money, or they don't know what's happening. Years go by and they have no idea what's happening with their films. We don't do that. Taking films from you, I take it very seriously, and so we appreciate it. There is no KweliTV without our independent filmmakers, and so I think there was one here, Messiah. I'm not sure if he's still here or not, but there was one in the room. And Des also has a film on KweliTV. Oh yeah, there she is. So yeah, Des is film on KweliTV, and so she can tell you the process too if you're interested. But yeah, Kweli.tv. Just follow us on social media. Subscribe if you want to.
No, do subscribe, not if you want.
Well, I didn't see anybody take out their phones, so I'm just saying. I'm just joking.
They're gonna do it later.
Yeah.
They're taking notes.
Seed and Spark, at Seed and Spark on Instagram. Follow us there. We're having a creative sustainability summit here in LA in December. Yeah, I can't think of other events, but yeah, follow us. If you have any questions, honestly, reach out to me directly. Crowdfunding at seedandspark.com. I'd love to talk to you and let you know more, especially if you're interested in crowdfunding and have any specific questions about that.
Kinema, like cinema with a K. I would say subscribe to our Substack. There's a lot of case studies that we share there. It's KinemaHQ at substack.com. And there's just sort of a growing independent film community on Substack that I think is really interesting. And there's a lot of people helping each other out, just sharing ideas. A lot of like, hey, my film is going to this city. Like, what's an independent theater that I should go to? Or what are some ideas that you have for how to market to this specific audience or this location? So I think there's a lot of, I would say certainly like we're sharing a lot of case studies of how films are doing well on Kinema. So you can take a lot of inspiration from that, but I think there's just a growing community that is worth participating in. And then one thing to think about is that if you have a totally ready film, there's a campaign that we're partnering on called Fall of Freedom. You can go to falloffreedom.com. And that is 2 days in November 21st and 22nd, where a lot of artists are artists across disciplines. So it's filmmakers, but also visual artists and sculptors, and it's sort of 2 days that are meant to get people just really excited about, or not even excited, but just in a state of like meeting this political moment where it's at. And so the creators of the Fall of Freedom campaign are putting an interactive map together of where all of these events are happening, and the hope is to have artistic events happening across the United States, and you'll see that kind of lit up on this map. And so any events, any films that you're screening and using Kinema's platform to screen, we're going to have a section on our homepage that are dedicated to those Fall of Freedom events. And if you have a film that's relevant, it would be cool to. It could be in a tiny space in your living room. There's no sort of restrictions to who can participate, so that could be pretty cool. And then the last thing is not Kinema related, but the Peabody Awards reached out to us and let us know that films that are distributing their films on our platform and on YouTube and other KweliTV are all open to, are all able to submit to their awards. So that's documentary specific, Stories for Good. But a pretty cool thing, they released an announcement last week. And so, I think previously a lot of these awards, you need a week-long theatrical, or there's all these sort of barriers to even be eligible for an award. And so check out Peabody. If you've got a documentary for good, and it came out this year, you're eligible to apply.
Incredible.
I got one more thing that I forgot to say, especially once we're talking about Kinema. Kinema and Seed and Spark put together a really valuable resource called the Distribution Playbook. Please go online and look up the Distribution Playbook. It's an open source catalog that will walk you through this entire process of distribution and educate you to the max. There's really amazing case studies on there. Highly recommend looking at that. Yeah.
It's never too early to think about distribution. Like, I think a lot of people start thinking about distribution in post, and like, you can start thinking about it really, really early in development, to be clear.
Incredibly important. Thank you. Okay, we're going to open up for questions now. Oh, we have one already.
I have questions for everybody. Hi, happy Saturday. It's a beautiful day. Okay, so I have a question for each of you, beautiful ladies, and thank you for your time. Okay, so I'm a filmmaker, Sybil Jada. So for Amy Vora, where's my question for you? Okay, so is the Peabody Awards only for recent documentaries?
Yeah, so you'll have to go to their website to look at the eligibility, but my understanding is they award annually, so it's for anything that's released in 2025. So that means from the moment that you're releasing publicly, so after your film festival run, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So you have put it on a platform like Kinema, you have put it on KweliTV, you have put it on YouTube, anything.
Put it in film festivals.
It has to be after your film festival run. The idea is that it's publicly available. So it used to be that Peabody was picking from broadcast or from streamers, and so this year the announcement was, or what makes it sort of unique this year, is that it's open to folks that are not, to films that are not distributing in that way. And they're sort of the Peabody is meeting this moment because distribution has changed so much.
Okay.
And so, the opportunities to get on a platform like Amazon or Netflix or whatever it is looks different this year than it did years past. And so, they want to make sure that they're including all stories. I'm going to keep using this phrase, stories for good, because I think that's their motto. But yeah, look at they've got all of their eligibility on their website.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, and Gabriella, is it Seed and Spark is a little and thing for the .com crowdfunding at Seed and Spark? And when is the December event?
Yes, okay. Seed, A-N-D, Spark.
Okay.
Spelled out. Our logo is an ampersand, but I'm not the marketing department. And the December event, I should know off top of the dome. I think it's like the 6th, but it'll be posted on our socials. Fact check me on that.
Okay, thank you so much. And DeShuna, thank you for sharing. Where are you from?
I live in the D.C. area. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee originally.
Oh, I thought you were from an African country. I was like, oh, okay.
People are, well,
we
all are.
Yeah,
technically.
yes, you are.
I did my DNA. I mean, so.
Of course you are. We all are, right? The motherland. Okay, so do you have international distribution with your KweliTV? Like if someone in Africa, in Ghana wants to see, they have access?
Yeah, so we are a global platform. You can watch us anywhere in the world. We have worldwide rights to about 90% of our films.
Okay.
And so if you're in Ghana, if you're in Tanzania, if you're in Brazil, you can watch KweliTV.
And just go on KweliTV.com and then you can...
KWELI.
Oh, I got it, girl. I got it.
Oh, okay. If you do .com, if you do KweliTV.com, it still goes to the website. We own both, so.
Okay. Thank you so much. And for Fanshen, did I say it right? Fanshen?
Perfect, yes.
All right. So how can I become a guest on your sister podcast?
Well,
hey.
I'll be here after, so let's talk.
We have one back there. I saw that hand first.
Thank you.
Hello, I have 2 quick questions. Thank you all for being here. For KweliTV and for Kinema, do you all ever do plays, either of something that has been adapted from a play to a film, or a play that has been filmed that is looking to be distributed?
We do.
Yeah.
We don't have great examples of it, but we have had live productions. It's really just, I guess the only thing is just to make sure that you're the rights holder of that thing before you try to put it on, whatever it is, before you put it on a platform.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then a question for you, actually,
Yeah.
with Kinema, do you find that your hosts are also, like, do you have host data that you use, and like, do you find your hosts have like really positive experiences to say about putting the events on, whether they're small or large? I'm assuming so. I was on your website and the reviews look good, but I just was curious.
That's how we make a website. So we've got about, now over 6,500 people or organizations have hosted in-person or virtual or on-demand screening events. Yes, I do think it's an overwhelmingly positive experience. Have there been technical glitches? Sure. One thing is that we have built all of our technology in-house. And so what that means, the sort of benefit of that, is that you're going to get sort of customer service really quickly, and they're going to be able to respond to your issue, whether you're a moviegoer and you can't find your ticket, or you're a host and you can't figure out how to actually get the film that you have access to for 48 hours playing in our offline player, or whatever the thing is, you're going to get sort of immediate attention from our team. But yeah, overwhelmingly positive experience. Maybe the other thing I'll say about hosts is often a lot of hosts are cultivated by the filmmakers themselves. They're fans of the film or that subject area. And so, that's a part of their positive experience too. One of the things that we do is that after hosts book a screening event for your film, they'll have the option of saying, yeah, we'd love for the filmmaker to come and do a Q&A, and then you as a filmmaker get to decide what the events are that you want to participate in, but all of those things enhance a host's experience as well, and their ability to make an event feel like an event, eventized and special, and all of those things. So that all helps.
Do we have time for one more? We're still good? Okay.
Hi, thank you guys so much for all of the resources that you've given us. It's really, I'm very grateful to be in the room and get to hear these resources. I have a couple of follow-up questions, specifically around the California Film Commission, the tax credits and the waived permits that you were talking about, and then also scaling crowdfunding through Seed and Spark. So I think the last film that I produced is kind of done. It's finished its circuit, so I don't think it's really available for these resources. Rocco was actually my representative, and we were able to raise about $10,000, but I'm really looking to scale. I'm in development for my next project. So I'm trying to figure out from Seed and Spark what top 3 actions you'd recommend for scaling your crowdfunding, and then from the California Film Commission, what additional resources, where should I go to find these tax credit resources, and then also these waived permits that you were talking about for state-owned property?
So, oh my goodness, I should know our website. The California Film Commission, if you Google, I feel like it's film.ca.com. Oh my God, they're gonna kill me. I didn't bring my cards either, so I'll get that for you. But if you Google it, you'll find it. I'm so sorry. At Film California on Instagram. So we have a permits department. So as soon as you go on the website, you'll see tabs and you'll see the permits tab. I'll also happily give you my email address after this, and you can email me and I'll connect you with our permits team. And then your other other resources? For the tax credit, yep, so there's also a tax credit tab. And thank you for asking. I mean, I recommend all of us get familiar with the application. Again, even if that $1 million feels really far away, go on the website, take a look at the application, take a look at the things that are required for the application. You need things like your budget and your schedule, and of course you need to do all of that in California. Your spend, it needs to be 75% spend in California or 75% principal photography. But our tax credit tab has lots of information on the tax credits. But again, feel free to email me and we'll have coffee or a virtual coffee, and I'm happy to walk you through too. Okay, that one I know. Fanshen, my first name, Fanshen.cox, C-O-X, at film.ca.gov. Oh, thank you. It is. It's film.ca. Hey, film.ca.gov. Well, that makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
And then the crowdfunding piece of it. You said you ran a campaign. Was that for production? Okay. And so you're asking how to use crowdfunding for next steps? Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So the the good news is like you ran a crowdfunding campaign already, so you have that really valuable audience data that you walked away with. You've grown your audience through that process, hopefully. I mean, you've done it successfully, so that's going to be a really great place to build off of. So when did you finish that campaign? Yeah. Yeah. So that would be step number one, is like re-engage, get back in the conversation. You don't want to reappear suddenly and be like, give me money, right? You want to get back in the conversation with them. You didn't ghost them, you've been working hard. So show what you've worked on. Like that builds trust with your audience. So get back in the conversation with them, regain their trust through that. It's simpler, I think, than it sounds scary, but it's not, because you've been working and you have stuff to show. So it's letting them know about that. And then seeing where your list is, seeing all the audience building you've done in the past 2 years just by going through the process of working on your film. I'm sure it has grown. You've met people. There's people here right now. So then getting reorganized and seeing where you're at, and that's going to lead you to what a responsible crowdfunding goal will be for your next one. And we could talk about that too. If you email me, I could help you. Crowdfunding at seed, A-N-D, you got it. And Spark, you got it.
Okay, do we have time for one more? Okay, because I know you've had your hand up for a while, so I want you to be able to go, and then that'll be our last line.
Thank you so much for all being here. My question is, I've done the Seed and Spark, did the web series, the circuit, and everything. And the material is still out there, it's on YouTube, but then I have other content that I've created but has never been released into the universe. But I think it is worthy, and it's comedy, but like, where do I go from here? Now that I have this stuff that we've created, what do I do next? Like, I'm just like, what do we do as partners, my creative partner and I, to, like, it's not dated per se, but it was filmed a long time ago. But it's still funny. So just trying to figure out what we do next. Like, do we look for distribution? What do we do?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, and I would ask, like, what's your goal with the project? Like, is it an impact project? Do you want it to make change? Do you need certain people to see it? Are you trying to make money up? Like, knowing what your goal is with it is step one. I would head to the distribution playbook because it talks all about that, like knowing what your goal is and what are the literal next steps. And because there's different pathways you could choose. You can do crowdfunding, right? You have the thing done already that puts you in a really good position to leverage an audience building crowdfunding campaign towards a drop on Kinema, which could like excite people through the exclusivity and the urgency of a campaign. You have options, but I think knowing what your goal is step one. Check out the distribution playbook as step two.
I second that. The goal thing is really I think a lot of people will often say, okay, can I pick two goals? Like, can I make money and can I also make an impact? And like the truth is that you really, really, really want to pick one goal. Mm-hmm. And it has to either be, and in the distribution playbook it sort of outlines what they are, but it's really like everything that you could possibly want kind of falls into 4 categories. And it's, I want to grow my career, I want to make money, I want to build a massive audience, or I want to change the world, I want to make an impact. Mm-hmm. Pick one, and that'll really, really help you figure out where to channel your energy and resources. And even like figure out who to sort of bring into your team, right? So if the thing that you care about is career, for example, and you wanna grow your career, maybe you wanna win an award or something like that, you might invest in finding a publicist, someone that can help sort of get your name out there and help build your reputation. If the thing that you care about is impact, maybe instead of that PR person, you're looking at getting an impact producer or someone to help you think about how you structure that campaign. So it really helps sort of figure out, where am I going to spend my time and my resources?
The only thing I would add to that would be just leveraging like social media I think, with social media, you can put clips out. You can at least get the buzz going, even if you don't have the solutions today or what you want to do with the project or the projects. You can at least choose one of the projects and maybe like a 30-second clip and start talking about it, like your why you decided to create this, and then once you read the playbook, then you kind of know where you want to go from there. But I think it's getting it out there. I don't like unfortunately, when people create projects and just sitting there collecting dust. We want to see it, right? It deserves to be seen. And so even if it's just starting out on TikTok for 30 seconds, showing a quick clip and talking about it, and maybe having some people on your production team also sort of engaging as well. At least you're getting it out there. At least people starting to know it exists, and then from there you can decide what you want to do next.
Okay, thank you. Gabriella, Fanshen, Ami, DeShuna, thank you so incredibly much for your insight and wisdom. We are going to now use the remaining time for Mixer amongst yourselves. You got your name tags in the beginning. You should have put what department you're in or what you're into. So please leave with at least 3 contacts and new people you want to collaborate with today. It's a perfect opportunity to do that. And we will check back in with you for a formal close. So thank you so much.
Wow.